I'm 55 years old, and my name is Brian. I am employed at a prestigious piano school. Having said that, I work 4 days a week as a part-time employee. You might wonder why, at my age, I work part-time. Let's put that tale off for now. When I was 3 years old, I played the piano for the first time. My mother once took me to a friend's house. In that house was a piano. After graduating from a music college, her buddy Susan started her own private piano school, which she briefly shut down after giving birth. When her child grew up, she had intended to reopen the school, but she gave up on the project for a variety of reasons. She then did what she really loved, which was to use her accreditation as a kindergarten teacher to accompany children's songs and activities. Susan would play well-known children's songs or music for exercising when I came to visit. Of course, I was ecstatic. Brian's excitement is uncommon. Did you realize how much he enjoyed music? Don't you play music at home? I certainly do. I even performed a variety of musical pieces for him while I was pregnant. Like what? The Four Seasons of Vivaldi. Or Mozart's, I guess. And something. Klein can music. You mean those are violin pieces? Maybe Brian just likes the sound of the piano. That's exactly correct. She really does have an ear for distinction, as one could expect from Susan. Brian also has a great sense of rhythm. Is it possible that he has perfect pitch? Not at all. You are aware of my husband's and my tone deafness. Their children do not inherit poor singing. You might want to test him when he gets older. I laughed with delight as I furiously danced to the beat, completely unaware of what they were saying. If he likes it this much, maybe I should have him take piano lessons. It is premature to do so. Just bring him to play at my house for the time being. Consequently, I began accompanying my mother to Susan's house virtually every week. I was exposed to a wide variety of music via Susan. She sang anything from Robot Anime theme songs to kid-friendly tunes. She would occasionally perform classical music by Bach, Beethoven, Chopin, or Debussy upon my mother's request. Each item seemed like magic coming from Susan's hands and was lovely and enjoyable. La Campanella by Liszt was my favorite. I would spin around to the beat because I adored its bouncing tones. You have such a flair for difficult music, Brian. The other day, Alan's concerto captivated you entirely. The piano solo in Alan's concerto is a tremendously challenging piece to play. One piano is used to play the concerto. It made my mind spin since it was so complicated, fast-paced, and intense. I felt as though Alan's concerto was twisting my brain with each note. The loudness leaking out was nearly deafening, and the complex finger movements felt like they would intertwine. It was exhilarating beyond description for my younger self. What is this? I thought, completely engrossed. I ended myself repeatedly viewing recordings of television performances because even Susan seemed to find the piece difficult. I couldn't help but be envious of the pianist who played those raging notes with such ease and composure. How is this person playing so easily? If they can do it, then so can I. What made me think that? Children have no fear. I shudder when I think back on my ambition's audacity. But it was this audacious resolve that led me to pursue a career in piano. My parents purchased a piano for me when I started primary school, and I began taking lessons. Susan was my teacher, of course. My classes were just 3 hours long every Saturday because she was preoccupied with work during the week. It wasn't practical for me to go every day. Her residence was too far away for me to go alone, and she had her own schedule. My mother could only take me on the weekends because she also worked part-time. To make up for it, I practiced at home every day. Fortunately, we lived in a detached house in the countryside with some distance from our neighbors. There was sound leakage, but since I mostly played in the evenings, no one ever complained. In fact, some neighbors even praised me. Brian, did you start learning piano? You're so dedicated with your practice. It's impressive. It's fun hearing you get better day by day. Some people even said things like that, and I became a bit of a local celebrity. I thought, I've got to get even better so I can earn more praise. With those thoughts driving me, my passion for the piano only grew stronger. Can you play that one next time? Liszt's La Campanella. When someone said that to me, I immediately replied, that's impossible. I was happy to find someone who liked the same piece, but with my small elementary school hands, that piece was out of reach. I simply couldn't master it. It'll take at least 5 years. When asked if I'd be able to play it after 5 years, all I could do was hedge with, well, maybe. Still, I thought, one day I'll play it. I have to play it. And so, my obsession with the piano deepened. Through middle school and high school, it was piano, piano, piano. Piano's so girly, some classmates would say, throwing misguided jeers my way. But I didn't let it bother me. Your ignorance is embarrassing. Try educating yourself, I used to say, and end up making people upset. That wasn't right of me, and I regret it now. I aimed to attend a music university, but music schools are expensive compared to violin or flute. Piano costs are a bit more manageable, but serious training with a skilled professional still requires a significant investment. Even competition entry fees can be exorbitant. We were an average family by the general standard. We weren't wealthy at all. I dreamed of attending a top-tier music university in the country, but that required a full scholarship. To earn that, I needed to place highly in major competitions. Without top-level achievements, the dream of a tuition-free scholarship would remain just that, a dream. So, I devoted myself to daily practice. Evening practice wasn't enough. I practiced in the mornings and at night too. By then, I was already skilled enough that no one minded the sound of the piano. If anything, people were happy to see my growth. Brian, you've gotten so good. You're practically a professional pianist now. Really? You've grown so much, I'm feeling old just thinking about it. So when's your big debut? Some people were surprisingly eager, and I remember signing about 3 autographs for them. Thanks to the support of my neighbors, I managed to win the gold prize in the country's largest piano competition. This secured my spot as a scholarship student. Once I entered university, my life became completely consumed by the piano. For someone who loved it as much as I did, it was a dream come true. However, even with tuition covered, there were still expenses for rent, food, and study materials. My parents covered the rent, and I received some allowance from them. But competitions would only increase from now on, and there would probably be opportunities for overseas training as well. I was going to need a significant amount of money. So, I found part-time jobs that wouldn't interfere with my piano practice. First, I started with customer service in the food and beverage industry. I worked as a server at a small, old cafe run by an elderly couple. This opportunity came at the recommendation of one of my professors. Brian, you don't smile much. You spend so much time staring at the keys, but to truly perform well, you need to empathize with the composer and connect with their emotions. Music comes from within. You should work on expressing your emotions more. Why not try a part-time job where you can interact with people, like in customer service? That's how I ended up at the cafe. It was close to campus, and many people in the music world frequented the place. So, I heard all kinds of fascinating stories. Over time, my network grew, my knowledge expanded, and I even started smiling more. One day, the owner said to me, Brian, I know someone looking for a piano teacher for their child, a grade schooler. Would you be interested? Honestly, I didn't feel ready. I was still a student myself, and the thought of teaching someone else felt daunting. But when I consulted my professor, he encouraged me. Why not? You've won a gold prize in a national competition, and you're getting better at interacting with people. This is a great opportunity. Give it a try. With his support, I decided to teach piano to the elementary schooler. Once I started, I realized how incredibly difficult it was. No, not like that. That's wrong. Why can't they get this? Watching someone struggle to play was far more frustrating than I had anticipated. I quickly hit a wall in my teaching ability, and ultimately, I was asked to step down. I felt too ashamed to face the cafe owner or my professor. It happens. Playing and teaching are two entirely different skills. We're all still learning. Even so, I couldn't shake my frustration at my own shortcomings. Determined to improve, I quit my part-time job and threw myself into practicing piano even harder. Occasionally, I worked as a hired pianist in seedy bars, more for a change of pace than anything else. The bars were full of drunk patrons who barely paid attention to the music. When someone did listen, they'd make requests for old ballads or the latest pop songs. Occasionally, someone in the audience would actually pay attention and say, "Hey, play that song." At first, I hated it and refused outright. This isn't the concert hall or a hotel lounge, I was told. If a customer requests a song, you play it. That's your job. If you don't like it, then quit. It hurt my pride to play trendy pop songs, but I wasn't ready to return to teaching either. It was an era when music played everywhere, in stores and on the streets. I picked up those tunes by ear and played them as the customers requested. Looking back, it was a valuable experience. The unfamiliar melodies were fresh and deeply moving. So, there's this kind of music too. Those discoveries broadened my musical horizons and even nourished my soul a little. By my third year of college, I had gained enough time and confidence to try teaching piano again. This time, I approached it differently. Recalling how Susan had taught me, I focused on drilling the fundamentals. This method turned out to be helpful, not just for my students, but for me as well. Revisiting the basics enriched my sound. The fullness of tone I achieved confirmed that a solid foundation built in childhood truly makes a difference. Keep it up, future pianists of the world. With that sentiment in mind, I devoted myself to teaching. When a child felt like crying from frustration with practice, I'd play a piece from their favorite anthem to keep them interested. This approach became popular, and before I knew it, I was teaching piano to children from several families. After graduating from university, I looked overseas for my next step. A university professor who had heard my performance at a competition reached out to me. I threw myself into studying a foreign language, honing my piano skills, and finally made my way to my dream destination abroad. Hearing this story, some might think, what a brilliant career. Despite the ups and downs, here I am, 55 years old, working part-time. It's not exactly something to brag about. I currently work at a well-known, nationwide piano school. This school both hosts an impressive roster of instructors, many of whom are award winners from prestigious competitions, and the standard of teaching is exceptionally high. The average age of the instructors is around their mid-30s. I haven't entered competitions in the past few years, but I still keep up with the latest information. The instructors here are all top-level pianists, many with high rankings in major competitions. The students are lucky to be taught by such talent. Of course, having a staff of such renown means tuition isn't cheap. Still, given the school's reputation and location, it attracts many affluent families. Some students even request specific instructors by name. Many instructors are also active performers, often unavailable for lessons due to concert tours. As a result, the school is always hiring to fill gaps. This year, a new employee joined us, a graduate from an elite national music university. Her name is Emily, and I heard she graduated at the top of her class from the leading national music university. I had once given up on what a reliable and promising newcomer we have. She's close in age to the kids, and she'll likely share insights into the latest trends in piano education. Naturally, I had high hopes for her, but those hopes were crushed the moment we met. As soon as she saw me, she said, "Are you the janitor? There's some trash over there. No hello. No nice to meet you. Why the commanding tone right out of the gate? Is this how young people act these days? I am thoroughly confused. No, I'm one of the instructors here. My name is Brian. Nice to meet you. What an instructor. How old are you? The interrogation began. I'm 55. Why? 55? What era did you graduate from? And by the way, your photo wasn't in the school brochure. She must have been referring to the brochure that introduces the school and its staff. Seriously, I'm introducing myself here, and she's just ignoring me. I'm part-time, so my photo isn't included in the brochure. Part-time at 55. That's ridiculous. Ridiculous or not, I'm standing right here, aren't I? Do you even know where you are? This is the premier piano school every music student dreams of, and you're part-time at 55. Aren't you embarrassed? Why should I be embarrassed? Her logic made no sense to me. You are Emily, right? Perhaps you could try speaking more calmly and respectfully when addressing others. And why should I listen to an old man like you? Mind your own business. Don't talk to me. She might not want to talk to me, but I still had to hand over responsibilities to her as part of her onboarding process. After all, Emily was hired as my replacement, but could she really handle the role? Emily is incredibly talented. She was a rising star as a pianist, destined for greatness. For some reason, she chose to work here. Take good care of her. Despite his confidence, I wasn't so sure. No matter how skilled she was at playing, this was a piano school. The students were children. Could she handle teaching them? I felt uneasy, but when it's an order from the director, you have no choice but to comply. Emily, you'll be taking over my students. No way. Excuse me? I'm not teaching the low-level kiddies you've been handling. Why should I, a graduate of the country's top music university, waste my time on them? It was as if a child was criticizing other children. Was this projection from a similar mental maturity? Could it be that Mr. Harrison's judgment is starting to waver? I can't help but feel a tinge of unease. Those kiddies are your students now. Teach them the basics of piano. You want me to teach the basics? Me, who swept through countless competitions. Yes, Emily, your achievements are impressive, no doubt. But there are instructors here with even greater accomplishments and more experience. Here, you're at the bottom of the hierarchy. You need to understand that. Emily glared at me as if I'd insulted her ancestors. I don't need a lecture from you, old man, she snorted and stormed off. There wasn't much I could do, but she'd understand in time. For now, I gathered the student materials and placed them on Emily's desk. I'd attached a note that said, "Please review this before the lesson." 20 minutes before her first lesson, I waited outside the classroom to discuss things with her. On her first day, I wanted to make sure everything was clear before the lesson began, but the moment she spotted me, she turned and walked the other way. Emily, even when I called out, never turned around and just disappeared, leaving me no chance to talk to her. Left with no choice, I waited outside the classroom door. Finally, 10 minutes before the lesson, she showed up. Emily, cutting it a bit close, don't you think? Emily, are you listening? I don't have time to listen to a part-time worker. It's about the handover. Did you review the materials I left for you? I did. Your first student today is Melanie. I said I rate it. Leave me alone. Well, even so enough. Know your place. Don't act so self-important just because you're a part-timer. Part-time. Part-time. Didn't she understand that in music, every part matters? Just then, Malene arrived. Brian, hello. Hello, Malene. This is Emily. She'll be teaching you from now on. Emily, hello. I'm Malene. Your lesson is starting. Get in the classroom. What happened to basic greetings? I couldn't help but wonder what kind of lesson she was going to give. I worried not at me. I really wanted to step into the classroom to observe, but I didn't want to make Malene nervous. Besides, even if I asked, Emily would never allow it. She graduated from the country's top music university, and as the valedictorian, surely she's well versed in fundamental teaching methods. I decided to trust her and let her handle it. Suppressing my anxiety, I quietly left the classroom. The 1-hour lesson ends, and it's time for the students to switch. I head back to the classroom and wait for Malene to come out. Malene, great job. How was the lesson? She didn't look happy. Were those tears in her eyes? What's wrong, Malene? Were you nervous with the new teacher? Malene has a tendency to be shy, especially around adults. That's why I emphasize the importance of being careful with her choice of words. I wonder if she paid attention to it. I had written it down in red ink on the note. I'm fine, thank you, Malene replied with a brave smile before heading home. Still, I couldn't shake my concern. Emily, can we talk for a moment? No. What? Can't she do something about her choice of words? She really should tone down her condescending attitude. Ignoring it, I stepped into the classroom. Malene looked like she was about to cry. Did something happen? Nothing. I noted that she's sensitive to harsh tones. Did you take that into account? Do you have any proof that I spoke harshly? No, but this is a lesson. Of course, the tone might get a little firm. Well, even so. The next student is coming. Get out. I was forcibly ushered out of the room. While I was deliberating on what to do, the next student, Marcus, arrived. Hi, Brian. Hey, Marcus. Good to see you. You'll have a new teacher today. Got it. I wonder what kind of teacher she is. I'm excited. I watched as Marcus, full of enthusiasm, entered the classroom. An hour later, Marcus came out, his lips pressed into a tight line. He looked frustrated, maybe even unfairly treated, and was trying desperately to hold back his tears. I've never seen Marcus like this before. Marcus, what's wrong? I called out to him, but he took off at full speed. The 3 students after him also left with dark expressions. This was bad. I needed to have a serious conversation with Emily. Emily, I'll be observing all your lessons tomorrow. Absolutely not. It's not up for debate. I'll speak with Mr. Harrison to make sure this isn't a problem. Well, I'll just tell him I can't focus on lessons with you in the room. This was getting us nowhere. I brought it up with Mr. Harrison, but he said, maybe the kids were more nervous because you were in the room. It's their first day, so they were just a little tense. They'll be fine next time. How carefree of him. Since Mr. Harrison said that, there's nothing more I can do. Whatever happens, don't say I didn't warn you. I gave a proper warning after all. And just as I feared, more and more kids stopped coming to lessons. My child hasn't wanted to go to lessons. They used to love the piano and always looked forward to it. I don't think the new teacher is a good fit. Mr. Brian, could you teach my child again? The complaints kept piling up, so I discreetly began investigating. What I found was troubling. Emily's teaching style wasn't just strict. It bordered on intimidation. One parent, disturbed by their child's behavior after lessons, had secretly recorded a session. When I listened to the recording, I was horrified. That's not what I told you. Why can't you even do this? I already said that won't work for competitions. Do you think you'll get anywhere playing like that? Why aren't you following instructions? Do you think you'll ever make it as a professional this way? This wasn't teaching. It was berating. Many piano students are sensitive by nature. This kind of approach could crush their spirits. The soundproof classrooms meant no one outside could hear what was happening, so no one realized how she was conducting her lessons. But ignorance wasn't an excuse. This was a failure on my part as well. Still, as much as I wanted to step in, I was no longer in a position to teach. Emily needed to adapt and succeed in her role, but any attempt to talk to her was met with outright rejection. I don't need advice from a part-timer. Frustrated, I turned to Mr. Harrison again. Mr. Harrison, could you please talk to her? She won't listen to me. She told me you didn't provide a proper handover, and that's why she's struggling. Excuse me? I put together a proper set of materials for the handover, complete with a memo containing my personal observations. It detailed who each student is and what they excel at. I even included notes on their finger technique habits and recommended practice methods. She refused to let me explain it, but if she actually read through the materials, there wouldn't be a single issue. That's how thorough and flawless the handover document was. Don't mess with me, Emily. Don't lie. Did you actually read the handover materials I provided? Yes, I read them. Then why are your lessons the way they are? I have my own way of teaching. Stop interfering. Some students are here to compete and win prizes, but others are here simply because they love the piano and want to enjoy playing. Adjust your teaching to suit their goals. I am adjusting. Then why are so many students leaving your lessons looking upset or on the verge of tears? How should I know? Maybe they just don't have the grit. If they're breaking down over this, they'll never make it to the top. She wasn't wrong that rising to the top requires tremendous effort and resilience. I've lived that experience myself, pouring my heart and soul into reaching this point. She's probably the same way. I get that. But that's the mindset of someone with a strong determination to become a professional. It's unreasonable to expect the same from elementary or middle school students. Time continued to pass without resolution. At this piano school, we held regular recitals featuring the instructors. These weren't formal concerts, but open events in a public space at the shopping mall. Anyone could listen for free. The goal was to introduce more people to music while also promoting the school. Many regular attendees looked forward to these performances, and the space was always packed with spectators. This time, the recital served as an introduction for our new instructor, Emily, who was set to perform. The day of the recital arrived. As expected of an elite music school graduate, Emily delivered a technically brilliant performance, demonstrating her seasoned stage presence. But something felt rigid. Her playing lacked warmth, roundness in the notes that would have made her performance truly captivating. It was a shame. Her style was precise, befitting someone of her caliber, but it felt overly mechanical, almost clinical. The music adhered strictly to the score, but it lacked the interpretative nuance that breathes life into a piece. If it were me, I'd play it this way, I thought to myself. As her performance ended, I noticed something odd. Wait, there were supposed to be 2 more pieces in her set. Why was she stopping now? Puzzled, I watched as she turned to the audience and said something shocking. Next, we have a performance by my esteemed senior, Brian. What? What was she talking about? I wasn't scheduled to perform. What was this woman doing? Emily stepped off the stage and walked toward me with a smile full of sarcasm. Aren't you an instructor too? Even if only part-time, I thought I'd give you the chance to stand on such a grand stage. After all, you probably never get this kind of opportunity. Go ahead, show us what you've got. Unbelievably, Emily forced me to play the piano. She probably thinks I'm only capable of playing simple parts due to my lack of skill. She's clearly trying to humiliate me in front of an audience. I have my pride too. If she wanted a show, I'd give her one. Fine, I'll play something. Watch closely, Emily. With that, I decided to play seriously, throwing my heart and soul into it. The piece, Liszt's Legend, one of my all-time favorites. I took a deep breath, straightened my posture, and placed my fingers on the keys. Softly, delicately, I began. My fingers danced lightly across the keyboard, building momentum with rhythmic elegance, gradually picking up speed. My fingers darted busily across the keys. The lively rhythm was wonderfully satisfying. The audience let out an impressed, "Oh." It seemed everyone was beginning to be enchanted by my tone. When I glanced at Emily from the corner of my eye, I almost burst out laughing. What kind of face is that? Her jaw's about to drop off. Emily's eyes were wide open, her mouth agape, utterly stunned. Getting more amused, I proceeded to perform a slangme, a piece so challenging that Alaki Arf himself lamented it was beyond his own ability to play. Even a piece demanding such extraordinary technique became a boundless realm of freedom in my hands. My mind drifted to the Caucasus as I became fully immersed in the cascading sounds flowing from the keyboard. F2. This piece always drains me, but before I could catch my breath, the room erupted into thunderous applause. The audience rose to their feet, giving me a standing ovation. No way. How can a part-time old man play like that? Emily is the only one who looks stunned and completely panicked. The audience, swept away by the music, erupts into thunderous applause and cheers. The brilliance of the technique seems to have come across, but the kids just stare blankly. It was clearly too advanced for them. Composing myself, I started playing the theme song from a recent mega-hit anime, a song loved by people of all ages. It instantly captivated everyone in the room. I followed it with the movie version's theme song, finished my performance, and stepped off the stage. That was amazing. They played that song. I know it. Yeah, they were so good. The audience, still smiling, left the venue while exchanging such conversations. Seeing their happy faces, I couldn't help but smile. Music truly is wonderful. The piano is such a beautiful instrument. Why? How can a part-time old man play such difficult pieces? Still stunned, Emily listened as I revealed the secret. After graduating from university, I enrolled at the Royal Academy of Music. Not because I had a specific teacher I wanted to study under, honestly. It was just because it sounded prestigious. Almost immediately, I regretted my decision. The academy was overflowing with geniuses, and to stand out required relentless, grueling effort. Over the years, I developed respectable technical skills and even placed in renowned international competitions. But something felt wrong. At some point, the piano stopped being a source of joy. It became a mere tool for climbing the ladder of success. How could such music evoke genuine emotion? My sound grew dull, losing its warmth. I became nothing more than a mechanical piano player, hitting the right notes but lacking any soul. I continued. Inevitably, I faced failure. Though I had turned professional, audiences quickly grew bored of my uninspired performances, and I faded into obscurity. At my lowest point, when I thought I'd lost everything, Mr. Harrison reached out to me. Brian, you need to find joy in music again. Children's music is wonderful. It's pure without pretension or vanity, just the simple, genuine love for sound. Why don't you come work with us? Initially, I saw it as nothing more than a way to make some pocket money, but as I taught, I remembered something important. Music is supposed to be fun. Piano was supposed to bring joy. Sure, building a foundation can be tough, but beyond that lies delight and ecstasy. What does it matter if you can play difficult pieces? Technical mastery alone won't move hearts. The children are simply enjoying the music they love. Their finger movements and sight reading are all over the place, but their eyes shine and their whole bodies are filled with joy. Yes, this is it, just enjoying the sound purely and simply. That's what music is all about. When I realized this, teaching children became a source of immense joy. In hindsight, I had taken quite a roundabout journey to get here. For students aiming to win competitions, yes, structured and disciplined playing is necessary. But for those who simply love piano and want to enjoy it, we should let them play freely. Forcing rigid methods on them and making them hate piano would defeat the purpose. Our job is to nurture their love for music and help them discover their own unique sound. That's what I believe we should be doing. Hearing this, Emily broke down in tears because no one had ever said that to her before. It was always practice more, get better, aim higher. They kept pushing her, and then they said her sound was boring. It was just too cruel. By conforming to the expectations and pressures around her, she had lost her musical freedom. She couldn't become a professional or join the orchestra she had dreamed of. This teaching job had been her last resort. She was another victim of misguided instruction. Then you understand, don't you? What you're doing now is exactly what you hated being done to you. Emily nodded, tears streaming down her face. Then let's change that. Why not guide the children to do what you always wanted to do yourself? You could be the one to help them find joy in music. I know you can do it. I understand. Emily nodded sincerely, finally letting her guard down. I had chosen to work part-time so I could teach in a way that didn't conform to rigid manuals. I wanted to focus on individual needs and foster a personal connection with each student. Next month, I'll be taking over as the school's director. This means I'll no longer be able to teach private lessons. I explained this to Emily clearly. When I become the director, I plan to give our lessons more flexibility. Instead of students saying, I improved my technique because of the school, I want them to say, I loved coming here. I fell even more in love with the piano. That's the kind of environment I want to create. Will you help me? Are you sure you want me, after all the times I mocked you and called you a part-time old man? True, that was tough to hear, but now you understand, right? Yes. Then that's all that matters. Let's leave the past behind and focus on moving forward. Speaking of which, can we discuss tomorrow's lesson plans? Yes, please. The more someone understands pain and suffering, the kinder they can become. That's what I believe. Emily had likely built walls around herself to avoid further hurt. I don't want to be mocked. That determination had led to her arrogance. But who hasn't gone through such a phase? I've been there myself and suffered the consequences, so I understand it well. Emily, in a way, was still a child. Someone who needed a guiding hand to help her find her footing. I have 55 years of knowledge and experience. I'll share it all with her, sparing nothing. One day, I'm certain Emily will become one of the finest instructors the school has ever seen. Together, as two imperfect individuals supporting each other, I hope we can help our students achieve their big dreams.